Hello everyone, and welcome to the September edition of Presence. When you opened up your email just now, you did so having read the subject line in the email which says, Max Our King Announcement. And that's what we're going to be dedicating this month's issue to of Presence, and that is an announcement that involves the work of Max King, otherwise known as my dad. What we wanted to do was to use this newsletter to give everyone plenty of time to make adjustments in their schedules and on their calendars for some upcoming events that we think are going to be extremely exciting. Let me first of all say that all along at Presence for the last year, we've been working on the website and a twofold approach to the material that pertains to the work Presence has done over many years now. Part of the direction has been to really use the biblical narrative and our understanding of its fulfilled message to enter into some of the academic realms and enter into some of the philosophies such as spiral dynamics that are now being used in various ways throughout the world to help solve world problems and to really understand human thinking. Now, along those lines, Tim has done a tremendous amount of groundwork and continues to do so. And in fact, in the October newsletter, we're going to be having an announcement about some work that Tim will be doing in October that will be related specifically to this direction. Now, at the same time, as everybody knows, all of you who are partners, you know that Dad has been doing research now for a number of years on the topic of Romans 9 through 11. That subject and that book is still in the works. It's had a tremendous amount of progress made to the extent that Dad now is ready to begin discussing much of the material that's going to be in the book, and yet at the same time discuss the material before the actual release of the book. We feel like with the various directions that we have going and the amount of time and money that you as partners have invested in this research, that we are now at a place where we can begin to share that information as well. And so I'm excited to say on his behalf that Dad, in conjunction with our partners at the Solander Group in Houston, Texas, Baytown specifically, Baytown is a suburb of Houston, that the Solander Group and the partners there have agreed to host what will in essence end up being a Presence conference. And specifically, it will be a weekend conference featuring only Max Our King and the work that he has been researching primarily for the last couple decades since the last writings that he's had. This conference is going to be held on Friday, January the 27th. It'll begin that evening. You'll get more information, of course, on all of this. We're just announcing it today. It will also go through noon on Sunday. So there will be presentations on Friday evening, presentations Saturday morning with Saturday afternoon open, presentations Saturday evening, and presentations Sunday morning. This is going to be a very intense theological discussion. It will be totally centered on the biblical narrative and the work that he has done and the research that he's done. But this will be basically just the beginning of ongoing conferences that Dad plans on doing. And in fact, if you're able to be with us in January down in Baytown, we will announce at that time the plans that we have for our next conference after that, which will be in the summer of next year. What we'd like to do is see if we can have conferences about every 6 months for years to come. We don't know what the number of years might be, but I can tell you that the amount of information and the amount of research that will be shared will show that these conferences are well warranted. There won't be any material that I would call lightweight. All of this will cause you to really think. So we're very excited about this, and the title of this is going to be Jesus and Paul read through the lens of God's gospel. Jesus and Paul read through the lens of God's gospel. Now, we're going to be putting out, along with Rick Krotz, who's the point person for the Sholander group, information, obviously, as we go through the months here leading up to the conference. And so you will be receiving information from myself and from Rick regarding more specifics of the outline of the material that's going to be presented. I might also say that this material is going to be recorded. We will record these sessions, and those recordings will be posted on our Presence website as part of the work and research that's being done by Dad, and he will have his own tab under which we will be presenting these recordings and all recordings that we do ongoing, and the presentation of the book and how you can eventually click and buy and purchase a copy of the book, which will have considerable more detail, lots of footnotes and other things that will supplement all the things that we're doing in these conferences. Some of the topics, though, that we're going to be discussing obviously are going to be just what is the gospel of God? How do you define that? And furthermore, how does Jesus relate to the gospel of God? And is the gospel of Christ the same thing as the gospel of God? And if not, what would be the difference? Also, during this conference, Dad will step into the water in his reframing of who was Jesus. I can tell you, having studied with him for the last year, you're going to hear a lot of information that's going to make even more changes in the 2,000 years of traditional theology that's been handed down. Along with this, of course, will be Paul and the gospel of God. What about Paul's gospel? How does he fit into this? What about Paul and Jesus? The ongoing debates between the theologians about the differences, supposed differences, between Jesus and Paul. How do those things relate? And then, of course, Dad will be able to show how the gospel of God is imperative to any understanding of Romans 9 through 11. Now, all of this will simply be an entire weekend of very dedicated study. And for those of you who really want to roll up your sleeves and really get into the Word, but you will not find that all of the topics are exhausted by any means by the time the weekend is over. In fact, I really think you'll be just like me when I leave his study in the afternoon after a session with him. You'll basically be wanting more. You'll have more questions. You'll be excited for the next time that we get together and so forth. But again, Dad's concern now is that he begins to get this information out to you, the partners. Dad knows, appreciates, and is so very thankful for the support that you've given that has allowed him to dedicate himself to years of study. And when I say years of study, I'm talking about every day. Dad doesn't know that a lot of people actually take a day off. And so what you're going to find is that this massive amount of material is a result of your efforts and your support. Now, because we are not sure how many people are coming and we're not sure about the availability in terms of the capacity, I should say, of the Sholander building, it would be very helpful if you could give me an email and let me know if you think you might come. This is not a commitment by any means. You're just hearing this. You're just becoming aware of it. You know the dates now. But it would really be good if we could hear from you in case we need to think about a facility of a different size than the one that we're doing. I suspect that the interest in this will be very big because, again, this is information that Dad has been working on for some time. And once again, it's going to be information that a lot of people have been waiting to hear about. So if you could simply email me, Doug, D-O-U-G, at presence.tv, that will give us an idea. Then also, if you have any questions, please email me about that as well. We'll be glad to get back to you. Again, Rick Krotz and I will be working on details of the conference, and we will get more information out to you as each month progresses. So, we're very